So here we go. The movie that killed all of Sony's Spider-Man's mass universe plans. Well, until Homecoming came out and saved the character earlier this year. This movie has a lot wrong with it. There's some things right with it, but there's a lot more wrong with it. And I hope to go over most, if not all, of those through this video. But I might miss a few things out of sheer rage of this awful piece of filth. So let's get on with the actual plot. Peter Parker has been Spider-Man for some time now, and things are going pretty well until they're not. His best friend Harry Osborn comes back to town after watching his father die. Gwen is questioning what to do with her future, and Peter's still trying to track down any clues about his missing parents, and things could be going better on that front. Suddenly, Max Dillon, who gets to an accident at Oscorp because, of course, turns into Electro, being driven mad by his new powers, and eventually ending up becoming the supervillain Electro, but not actually the actual villain of the movie because things that happen later. Spoilers. Let me be honest, this movie has a problem with its villains. It's not that there are too many of them, it's that none of them are used effectively. Honestly speaking, a movie or whatnot can have multiple villains in it. It depends on how effectively said villains are used. And the villains in this movie are not used effectively at all. The Rhino just shows up at the beginning and end of the film, and it's just a wasted reference here or there. He shows up at the beginning for someone Spider-Man to fight, shows up at the end for someone for Spider-Man to fight. Aside from that, he serves no purpose in the overall plot and narrative. Harry Osborn as the Green Goblin just shows up at the very end to steal the role as main villain and kill off Gwen Stacy to make an homage to a classic comic book. So that's not even the Green Goblin that killed Gwen Stacy in the comic book. Ugh. And Electro, they do start him off pretty well, but then towards the midpoint where he accepts his role as the villain of the movie is where it starts to get pretty weak for his character. It's like at the beginning he's just somewhat misunderstood and tortured. In the very ending he's like, fuck everything, I want to destroy. Let me out so I can destroy and wreck stuff. And it's like, why? Yes, you're in prison, but this is kind of what you wanted when you wanted someone to help you. I will say that Electro's first appearance is actually pretty well done. And the dubstep track attack thing that happens that he does throughout the movie is honestly pretty cool and does kind of remind me of Killer Instinct in a bit. You know, or it's like the attacks are cute with the music in a way. That's pretty interesting, pretty cool. I mean, it doesn't really make that much sense with the Electro, because, you know, electric villain, how's he producing sound isn't buzz. But again, it's something that's pretty cool and unique. But it's ultimately just this pretty cool, unique feature that's ultimately wasted in this shit pile of a movie. Also, retroactively adding in Harry Osborn to the plot, and not even mentioning the fact that Peter was super obsessed with Oscorp last movie, when Harry's supposed to be his best friend and Harry is the son of the chair of Oscorp. You see why this doesn't really connect that much? It would make more sense if Peter met Harry while he was investigating Oscorp. They became friends, and that was your impetus. But you're having this whole childhood friend thing when you don't even mention that all last movie, despite Peter's obvious Oscorp obsession last movie. It's kinda dumb. You get why this is completely stupid. Then there's Gwen's death. While the scene itself is actually handled pretty well, and the imagery of Peter reaching out to try and grab her and save her, I ultimately feel that the implication is completely idiotic. First off, I think they should have waited until a third movie before killing her off, so it had a bigger impact. We got to see these two build. Because the first movie was just about them getting together. If we actually saw the falter of their relationship throughout the second movie, it would make a much bigger and harder impact in the third movie when she died. I get that they're trying to kill her off so they can push Gwen Stacy and they can push Mary Jane in the next movie, but it just doesn't leave that big of an impact like Gwen Stacy's death did in the original comic books. Even then, Gwen Stacy's death in the original comic books was because this is this classic character who's been around for so long, ended up actually dying. You know, the length of time a character's on screen adds to the weight of the death. It's also why Superman's death and Batman v Superman also didn't have and same impact as it should have had. Because he wasn't around long enough for it to matter that he died. If you get what I mean. But somehow, they somehow managed to make her death worse. Now, Peter going into depression, moping about all that because Gwen Stacy died for however long, a few months past at best. But then we get this, the resolution to that. There's a worse resolution. In the original movie, it's him moping around before he hears the commotion of the rhino's attack and goes in to help save the day because he has to go fight the rhino. But there's a cut of this film where the resolution makes the entire movie, no, the entire aspect of the Amazing Spider-Man universe completely idiotic. Peter's dad is one, alive, and two, he comes out of hiding to help his son get over himself. Now, if this had been some sort of long game gambit and that was the chameleon this whole time, that would have been brilliant. That would have been a good homage to the original comic book where something similar to that happened. But here, and with no context, it's just his dad suddenly magically appears out of nowhere, basically gives his son the Uncle Ben pep talk, and Peter goes out to fight the rhino. And his reasoning for not showing up in his son's life any time before, he was hiding himself to keep Peter safe. Let me say something completely honest and truthfully. Almost literally every story outside of the first time that's happened with the chameleon I just mentioned before, and the 90s Spider-Man series, in which this wasn't even the most important thing going on, because this is just the impetus to get the whole Captain America story going. Every plotline involving Peter Parker's parents is always terrible and boring. It goes against the spirit of the character, being this average everyman who taps out his tragic backstory that his parents are both already dead. I guess because he got tired of killing fathers. It goes against his tragic backstory. It goes against the emphasis of the character to suddenly make his parents super extra special secret agents. Or something like that. I'm just saying, it never works. This whole film series is based upon that idea of Peter Parker's parents being extra super special. Aunt May shows Peter out about his search for his apparently super special, awesome parents in this movie. And then the dad shows up like it's nothing. You get why this is stupid. Like, I can't honestly blame the film for this because it realized it was stupid and cut this part of the film out. But whoever thought that was a good idea and shot that scene, I hope you were fired. It's smacked in the face for that. Because no, that was not a good decision. I can't believe Sony thought that they could use this movie as a jumping off point for some form of cinematic universe. It's truly astounding when you consider how lazily put together this film ultimately is. It feels like it was almost intentionally designed to be a bad movie, to be a failure of a movie. Hell, the references and other Spider-Man villains just makes it worse because they would be no more better than just advanced mooks for Harry. And they already had this whole Sinister Six movie planned out. Again, it ultimately feels pointless and worthless. Again, they would have just felt like Harry's mooks. Overall, this was a major disappointment of a film, and it would take Sony getting help from Marvel to make a good Spider-Man movie and Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, if only the existence of the Venom movie wasn't so confusing right now, but hopefully someone will explain all of that in due time. But, with that said, see you at the next film.